Okay, here is Masa Mujahid, and today I shall talk about IELTS listening. The very first question that students used to ask me is the pattern of IELTS listening. So I can say that there are 4 sections of IELTS listening, and there are total 40 questions, 10 from each section, I should say. Yes, there are total 30 minutes of audio, and then we are allowed for 10 minutes to write our answers on the answer sheet. Now let's talk about what kind of audios we have to listen in our IELTS listening. In the very first section, we can observe that usually there are 2 persons who are involved in a dialogue, and the topic of a conversation between those persons usually is usually of the nature of, you can say, social nature or general normal routine nature type of conversation they can have in that section. And then in the second part, it is called as monologue, and the person who talks in this section, he talks about in the same way a non-academic type of topic, like you can say a tour guide who is guiding a person regarding any place. And in the third section, there are 3 to 4 people who are involved in a discussion. And this is, you can say, the most difficult part of IELTS listening. Why? Because there are 3 to 4 people and they have different voices, they have different narratives, they have different opinions regarding different things. So you can say it is really challenging for the students to crack this portion of listening. And the topic of conversation in this section is usually academic. Yes, like you can say if 3 to 4 students are discussing something with one another, or a teacher is discussing something with his students, so such kinds of things or such kind of stuff you can have in this portion. Okay, and then in the fourth section, in the same way, we have just one speaker who speaks regarding an academic topic. Like you can say it may be a kind of presentation of a professor in a seminar. So such kinds of audios we have to tackle in these 4 sections of the IELTS. Yes, then another question is that what kind of questions we have to tackle with in IELTS listening. Yes, you can categorize these question types in 4 categories. The very first is the, you can say, option based or like MCQs questions, in which there are 2 types of questions as well. The very first is the list questions, in which you have to choose 2 or 3 correct options from a list of options. And the other type of question is the simple single answer MCQs, like you can have 3 to 4 options and you have to choose just one option out of them. Okay, and then the second type of question, you can say these are the short questions. Yeah, definitely in short questions you can say they usually ask us like what is the name or what kind of thing that is, or why something happened, how happened, and such kinds of things. So the answer of these short questions may also not prolong than 2 or 3 words. And then the other type of question is the completion question. So what is the completion question? In this type of question, you have to answer, like you have to complete a sentence, you have to complete a form, you can be asked to complete a table as well. So such kinds of question can be, you can say, faced by the students in this category. And then the last and fourth type of question is the labeling question, like you can be asked to label a map, you can be asked to label a diagram. So such kinds of questions are usually asked in IELTS listening. Yes, now let's move further and let's talk about IELTS listening challenges, you can say. Okay, now let's talk about some of the tips and tricks of IELTS listening. Yes, this is very common query between the students that how we should deal IELTS listening. So the very first thing that I should suggest to the students, they should keep listening. I mean, they should be habitual in listening of different types of accents, specifically British accent. So for that purpose, they can hear some of the podcasts or such kinds of things. But they should keep themselves in an environment where they have to listen a lot of English. And the second thing that I can suggest is that they should be able to differentiate between the similar sounding words. Like if I say quite, so is it QUIET or QUITE? So these are the two words which have quite similar sounds. So how we can differentiate? We can differentiate between both of them by understanding the context in a better way. If we understand the question statement in a good and better way, so we can decide that what kind of word we can use here, okay? And the same way, always be keen to listen about the numbers and the names. Like if I say 1940 and 1914, you can observe that there is a little bit difference between vowel sound, I can say. In 1914, it was in, and in 1940, it was just a hard sound or a short sound at the end. So during IELTS listening, students can miss such kinds of sounds, and they can misconceive, or you can say misunderstand these sounds. So we have to be careful regarding all such things. And then if he speaks for a name, then you have to listen quite I should say attentively to the spellings of that sound. Okay, there is another thing that students should keep in their mind, and it is that whenever they speak numbers, they say 0 as a O, like 03104. So O doesn't mean O, it means in between the numbers, it means it is a 0. So we should, you can say, take it as a 0. In the same way, the students, whenever they have to transfer their answers to the answer sheets, they should also keep in mind all of the rules and regulations of grammar, like they should capitalize the first capital letter if they are writing any proper noun, and if they are writing any answer of a fill in the blank which is coming in front of the sentence, so they should capitalize that letter. And in the same way, they should also keep correct spelling of those words. And the most important thing that students usually miss is the difference of singular and plural, I mean S or ES things, which they usually miss at the end of their answers. So these are the things due to which they have to suffer in IELTS listening. Yes, these are the things that students should keep in their minds to crack IELTS listening, and there are a lot of other things which can be explored by diving into the listening and by having a very good and comprehensive type of examination, you can say, of their speech patterns. Like they use contractions, I mean they use ellipses, they skip some of the sounds in their speaking. So students, if they get habitual of listening, so then ultimately they would be able to listen them in an accurate way, or they can understand what kind of sounds they are going to skip. So I think we should go for ability making. We should be able to understand their English speaking patterns. I think this is the main structure, and these are the main things that the students should keep in their minds. Thank you.